dodging life's strays. Climbing out the gutter, iron will like the frame. Wrapped in shadow, but they shine like noon. For hearts beating, sink, break the.
All right, welcome back to the King's Effect podcast. We have season 1, episode 19. We're almost closing in on the end of the season. I have a very special guest with us today, Kadeem Huggins. He's just going to talk about his life from where he was to where he's at, and just maybe some of the challenges he might have faced in his life to help other people to hopefully get better and heal in their life. So how you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. I can't complain. And I say that I usually say, even if I did complain, who would listen? But I think that's the point of this podcast, right? Is to let people know that somebody will listen if you do complain. So, but honestly, can't complain.
Yeah, that's good. How's life been for you so far? I know it's a lot that's going on in the world right now that may or may not be affecting you, but as a Black brother, I really try to hone in on those Black issues that I see affecting a lot of brothers. The economy is really bad right now. A lot of jobs, they're homelessness. I get so many emails and DMs saying, can you help me? Different resources. And while I can't help everybody, I try to help some of my friends that I can if I see them struggling. So just what's been going on with you? Have you been affected by most of the stuff that's been going on, or you just chill and do your own thing?
I've been blessed to not be affected by too much of what's going on. I haven't had, but what I do digital marketing, right? And my specialty lies within video production. So editing, pre-production to production to post-production, that's my specialty. So in the world where video is the number one consumption of people's attention, I've been blessed to be able to have gigs, have jobs. I stepped away from college athletics to just delve into my own realm and be able to capitalize on my abilities and my technician. So I've been able to dabble in different industries and have fun with what I do. So I can't say I've been affected directly. Now, indirectly, it may have slowed down what gigs I may have been able to get, maybe slow down how high my negotiation could have gone, but what's out of sight is out of mind.
Yeah, and I guess that's a good thing. It's good to see people that's thriving in a struggling economy. Me personally, I work in education, so I've seen a lot of deficit budget cuts and stuff like that. One of my whole departments, an department that I work with closely, got laid off in my current job. And they have to cut back some of the funding for education. So I work with AmeriCorps, and that's a nonprofit organization tutoring children. Plus what I do this on the side. And I've seen they're just completely rebranding AmeriCorps in general. So it's not going to even be existing come next year when I start the new school year. So that's kind of how, sad to say, but when you're dealing with a particular president, it's really hard to sit back and just let things happen. That's why I tell my Black people, we got to get out and vote. We are the power, we're the constituents to get these people in. But I think a lot of Black people don't see that in terms of our power. So not to get too political, I noticed that, and it's really sad that we won't be under that AmeriCorps corporation anymore next year, because I grew up having a tutor and I know what it's like to get help, especially being Black in the hood and you don't think you're ever going to go anywhere. I struggle a lot with that in my life, but hopefully in the future it'll come back. But as far as right now, they're going to completely operate it under a different organization that it's going to be less pay and won't get as many PTO hours. So I'm a little bummed about that, but it is what it is. It's not like I'm completely out of a job. So
I think and one, having that mindset of you're not down. You might be down, but you're not out, right? And how do you pivot? I think people that learn how to pivot and adjust are the ones that will thrive in any industry, no matter what it is. Change will come, right? That's a tall, a long tail. I don't know. Whatever that saying is, it's the saying of the world that change will come and it's inevitable. And no matter if it's political, economical, change will always come. But I think those that take the time to think ahead, be forward thinking, know what's coming forward. If you're not, even just to get, if you're not into the AI world, or if you're against it, you will be falling behind. I lived in Cleveland for some time and I was listening to the radio, I'm a big listener. I like to listen to the radio. If I'm in my car, that's probably the only time I play music, right? And I'm from New York. I'm from the Caribbean, so my music is blasting when I'm in the car. Um, when I'm home, I'm listening to podcasts. I'm listening to interviews. And I was listening to the radio one time, and they was talking about I don't want to say Ford, but it was a big dealership brand in Michigan, and they fired a bunch of people. Let's just say 50% of their staff. But directly after that, they said we're going to hire the new crop of people who understand the new technology that goes into cars. Mm-hmm. So I say that to say, if you was in that old industry and didn't take the time to learn the new industry, you will get left behind. If you are not someone that even going to journalists who was doing print media, but didn't want to get on Twitter or Reddit or Tumblr to distribute your information to a wider audience, print media is now gone. So industries are changing. I think the era we're in now is similar to horses to cars. If you're not picking up a car or learning how to drive a car, you will be left behind.
Yeah, I do agree with that. All about pivoting and adjusting to life. A lot of people, they're going through depression, or they don't know where their next meal is going to come from, because I do this on a consistent basis. So I get these kind of messages from men from all walks of life. It could be from China, it can be from the UK, it can be from New York, it could be from Cleveland, like all types of men. I've met a lot of different men, do podcasts, and it breaks my heart that, feel like you work so hard in your life. I've been working 17 plus years, and sometimes it just feels like, you're working really, really, and you don't really have much to show for it, or business is not picking up like you want to. What would you give to men that's kind of that, going through homelessness and stuff like that? What's your take on that?
Homelessness, that's a different topic. I don't have the process to even give you a thought. But I think if you are struggling, getting organized, finding a structure, I think controlling what you can control is so valuable. If you don't take over what you can control, everything will start to boggle down on you. If you're not able to block out outside influences, such as vices, drugs, smoking, gambling, you will continue to fail. I mean, people that are up, millionaires who fail to their vices and fall into homelessness and so it's not a money thing, right? At all the time. It's not always a money thing. It's a mindset and the ability to figure out what your structure is, start to read, find a book, listen to a podcast, listen to other testimonials. I listened to whomever and however long ago, but if you listen to a podcast from, not a podcast, if you listen to a radio interview from the 80s, the 90s, the 1000s, many of them say the same thing. I didn't know. I share, and I made this connection, and then I blossomed. So I would say read, learn people's testimonials, understand you need to pivot as an individual, and that's for you to decide and understand what that is. For me, I had to get organized. I had to get a structure. I had to wake up at 5 a.m. to allow myself to prepare for the day, get to-do lists ready. I'll say this. I just recently, probably last month, started doing voice memos at night where I would say my to-do list. Sometimes my hand can't keep up with my brain. So if I'm writing a manual to-do list, while I'm talking in my head, I am forgetting exactly what I even want to write down. And then the next day, I'm like, I do this, but I didn't write that down. I do voice memo. I take my phone, regular phone voice memo, say what I got to do for the day. Hey, I need to do X, Y, Z. Give me action items that I need to do. I put it in Google Gemini and I ask Gemini to create a schedule for me for the next day. Allocate hours, allocate to-do lists, give me references if I need it. But that allows me to stay structured throughout my day so that I'm able to feel completed and accomplished. And it works. Reach out to people, put in your to-do list to network and reach out to people, whether it's on LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever outside. Don't just be in a house. It's a lot of information, but it's a lot of things to do, but finding a structure, I would say, is key.
Yeah, and I add to that just to kind of get into, to where you're at right now. I want to add to something that I think is really crucial. 9-8 is a support call for people that's, mental health issues and stuff like that. So I would highly recommend that they call that. And then I also would highly recommend that they call 211 if they, someone can connect you. It's like an organization that can connect you with resources. If you're struggling with homelessness or paying rent. I've used them personally in the past because, I almost was evicted. And it's a little bit rough on me. I didn't know where the next meal was going to come from and, that nature. But I personally used them, and they kind of connect with different churches that was able to give me $500 because I was like $500 on the rent. I was able to connect with those resources in my community locally to that. Definitely 988, and definitely if you have friends or family that can kind of help, like if you go stay with a friend, dishes, stuff like that, so you're not just sitting around not doing anything, but just being productive and then definitely be on LinkedIn and finding jobs all day long. That's how I got my other job when I didn't have a job, so I could pay my rent. I was applying like crazy. I had like 50 jobs in a day, and I just kept doing that every single day. The job market is really bad right now. Like it's bad, and it's like, damn, I don't even qualify for a McDonald's job. That's how sometimes people feel. But those are good resources. So now I want to kind of
can I add to that too?
Yeah.
I will also add, if you are in a town, and I know regional, the real thing. I've been across America for the most part, and the access I had in New York when I lived in Cleveland, I didn't have that same access to the certain job markets or the volume of jobs. But if you're in a place where you're able to go outside and knock on a few doors, ask a few questions, please do so. Social media and LinkedIn and all that is very, very valuable. Do not take this as me saying do not apply on LinkedIn. You should definitely put an hour or two a day to apply to gigs. But please be sure to go outside, go to networking events, find events on Eventbrite, find events on whatever Facebook groups that you could go to go out and connect with people.
Yeah, and now I want to kind of what was upbringing like? Like, what did you financially growing, or how was dynamic like in your?
Financially, I don't. That's to the kudos to my parents because I don't know. They buy a pair of sneakers. I was able to stay clean. Sense of being able to, if I needed to buy a new shirt. I grew up in the Virgin Islands, so we wore uniforms. So that was kind of hidden in that aspect. But once I moved to New York, you start to get into that fashion world that New York is.
Yeah.
And it's a big world of keeping up with the Joneses. I've never been someone that needed to keep up with people. I've always just, as a creative, I've always wanted to do my own thing regardless. Mm-hmm. So I've never felt the need to keep up with people. But if I like something, I like Jordans. I love Air Max 95s. Anybody that know Kadeem, they know I'm going to have some 95s on. But growing up financially, that's I couldn't tell you that. I think my parents did a good job of keeping roof over our head, food on the table. I know my parents worked more than one job, but that's also my grandparents worked more than one job. I know that my uncles had more than one gig. Growing up in the IUC, my grandfather was a construction worker by trade. But if there was a cruise ship in for that day, he's driving a Safari that day, So that's the hustle I seen growing up. And I would be right there in the passenger seat with him as he's going to pick up cruise ships and people so I came from that hustle culture. And what you get, if you didn't go out and get to it that day, you didn't get the extra things that you wanted. So that's the mindset I came from and my family. Hopefully I answered you. You maybe got all thinking of what was what as far as visualizing it, but
I asked them, not to pry, but to get a sense of how men evolve in their life, because as the viewer, be able to relate to people that been through the same problems as me, or been through as me. And when they're watching, it just kind of like helps navigate. You resonate with it because some men may not be financially, or they may not be in a good mental health state because of what they're going through with their finances or stuff like that. Like I said, I get men of all walks of life that message me, DM me, they tell me about their life. Like some people write a paragraph, and it's just like, it's nothing. I can't help it. I try to help as much people as I can because I'm passionate. I'm just seeing people elevating that in life. So now let's pivot now. Like, what challenges did growing up led you to believe that maybe you could have a life? What challenges did you face to that maybe your childhood that maybe you saw that was a life? Then I mean, I know that your parents grind like that, but did you have to face any challenges when you was in school? Like
challenges
like in middle school, did you maybe struggle with not knowing what goals or something like that? Because me personally, I kind of struggle with that. Just always being on the edge of not knowing, what I wanted out of life. Like I had friends growing up, and I would see people's life and compare my life to theirs. But I think everybody's just different. So, what was your journey like in high school? Did you kind of have an idea what to do after high school, or?
No, I didn't. When I was in high school, I chose to be involved in certain that as you get older, you realize it was dumb. Not focus on the work as much as possible. I think I'm the thing from a dumb, but I just chose to do dumb activities, right? And as a youth,
I think we all done that. You're young and dumb with things that you might regret later on.
and I've been so fit that I didn't have to face too much regret, right? That whatever I did me to cases and courts and all that, I didn't have to live that life, thank goodness. But I think I played football. And I tell people all the time, when I went to my I went to my freshman orientation, JV coach came to me and said, "Oh, Kadeem, you could be my next Randy Moss." And I knew who Randy Moss was, right? So I didn't watch football growing up. I grew up in the islands. We watched baseball and basketball for the most part. Tim Duncan is from the Virgin Islands, so he was probably like the biggest thing we had as far as somebody we could see. But I started playing. I just happened to be a good athlete. I'm not great. I've lived in the South. Those athletes, they're different. I've seen Lance Stevenson growing up. I've seen Stephon Marbury and Sebastian Tell. Those are the greats, right? I was a good athlete. And what comes with is the ability to have a community. So like you said, you didn't have that you might have had to lean into. I happen to have a core of, especially my class, my freshman graduating class of high school. We all just happened to grow up an immense bond with each other and was able to hold each other accountable. And I think that's the biggest thing, is having people to hold you accountable, whether that's to go to school. There was days I didn't go to school. There was days I never really skipped class. I never saw the reason to go to school and not go to class and just hang out in the hallway all day. But sometimes I just school, whether I'm with a lady or whatever it may be. But I always showed up to football practice, right? I always showed up to football practice. That was where my lied. And I went to school in Brooklyn. High school, I went to Brooklyn, and what I thought was the norm is not the norm, right? When you seeing fights every day, morning, lunch, after school, and this is before they knew where the fights was going to happen. You knew when everything was going to happen. My freshman year, they had a kid running around the basement with a machete, chasing down another kid. Man, you just like, you just saying that. And then I went to class. We didn't have lockers because the years prior to me, they found guns in lockers, I believe. So just what I grew up in wasn't normal until I went to college and I saw something different. Until I went to visited people at others. They had friends that went to Dozo, and if I'm from New York, so Cardozo and just other schools. You just saw different things, and having relationships with different people you just realize that what I was living in and what I was subjected to was normal. It was my norm, but it wasn't what a 17-year-old, 16-year-old. So just to even go back to your point, I think we judge too early, the young age, that we are suspected to be ready to go by 18 years old. And I think that is probably the number one societal problem we have, is that we need to be ready by that. There's a number attached to it. I think that's the biggest problem.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. And before I ask you one question, then we have to get ready to go here. But I wanted to ask you, I mean, I knew personally, I knew where I kind of had a direction on where I to go in my life. By the time when I was like 17 years old, I knew I wanted to go to college, but I didn't know what that looked like. And the reason why I wanted to go to college, it all started because I had a guidance counselor, and she told me, you would never go, don't even bother. And getting on you, I went to a kind of like an all-white suburbs. And
Where you from?
I'm from Cleveland, but I'm to like the suburbs, like that, Ohio.
I lived in Cleveland earlier.
Yeah. But then I moved out of the country because my family wanted to move out there, and I was like, okay, well, let's try something different, get away from the hood, stuff like that. And I moved there, and I went to like the white school, and it was interesting. Like I would come out middle of the hallways, and my eyes would be blind. I'm seeing so many white people. And I wasn't used to that. I was used to seeing all walks of people when you go to Cleveland public schools: Puerto Rican, Asian, Black, Hispanic. I'm used to seeing all different races. So that took me by surprise. But to make a long story short, my guidance counselor, I had a meeting. She was like, so you are smart, Daron, but I just don't think that you're ready for college. And I was like, that kind of really made me take it back. I'm like, really? You would say, like, almost like putting me in like the way that you was something like that. And I'm like, I was pretty smart. For to say that, it kind of made me feel small in a way, because obviously you want to respect your elders and you want to respect people, but I was ready to cuss her ass out. She said that, like, don't insult. But needless to say, I went to college. I didn't, accept her advice because it's not valid. She can't control and dictate what I do in my life. And I went to college and I graduated with honors. So it's like, I proved you wrong, man. So I say that there's a lot of people in the world that's doubting themselves. They're going through so many double questioning their mind. So what advice would you give them if, people, want to bring their life, but maybe they might be hesitant about it because people deterred them or degraded them, like the guidance counselor did to me?
Yeah, imposter syndrome is a real thing. Outside influence is a real thing. And many people will tell you can't do something, whether indirectly or indirectly. And I think able to, and I'll just go back to my initial point of keep yourself organized and structured, being able to count your blessings for the day, account for your actionable items for the day. If you say, I want to become a guidance counselor in a year, what does 6 months look like for you? What does 3 months look like for you? And being able to structure yourself. I am somebody that just learned that structure is key. I've transitioned that out. Football, we practiced. There was some number that came out and said, you practice for a football team right in college, let's say 12 games a year. That's 48 games in my college career, but I've had over maybe 300, 400 practices, right? The practices is what separates the people, your regular, whatever it is you're trying to do, no matter the industry. If you want to be a chess player, you got to practice, right? So I think understanding that value in practice, give yourself 2 hours a day to learn something, and follow that. I think structure is so valuable, valuable. So whatever you want to do, you want to learn AI, give yourself time.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all that we have today, Kadeem. I really do appreciate you coming here. Do you have any businesses, things you want to kind of promote before we go, how to help other people?
No, I don't have nothing I'll just say to people, don't fall to societal. If you're dealing with something to somebody, if if you're dealing, we think devices is the route to go in the world. But I did smoke quite a bit, and I've probably been, let's just say sober, right? But I've been sober now probably a year, and I've gotten much more done in my day than smoking. And I wasn't even like a big smoker. I was little, very little, and I just got so much more done in my day. So I'll just say to people, be sure to reach out to people, connect, build community, build a core. Your friend group will change. Follow the flow. But don't let it
for a little while, just because I have a here, brother. Make sure that you subscribe. You'll get a notification that the episode is for you and what we did today. But I do appreciate you for coming and being vulnerable, because we need more Black brothers to be more vulnerable, so we know, so other people can know that they can be vulnerable and heal, because ultimately the goal is to heal, right?
Yes, sir.
To heal. All right. You take care, and you have a great day. See you.
You too.
Like dodging life's strays, climbing out the gutter, I am real like the frame. Wrapped in shadow, but they shine like noon. For